Hey everybody, it's your pal Drew Geraci, and I'm going to be talking about giant-sized comics that Marvel produced between '74 and '76. I'm just old enough that the giant-sized format was about a year old, so I was really digging on it. I somehow missed this on the stands. I wasn't quite like, a little later I could ride my bicycle all over, but there was a major roadway, up a bit, and I was going to risk myself until later to cross the major road. Uh, Route 22, Giant Size Invaders #1. I never saw it before, but my friend Rick did, and he'd read it, and we traded. Comics were 25 cents, no taxes at the time. Wasn't a taxable periodical. So I traded 2 comics I had, and I got this one, and it blew me away. It took place during World War II, and I had an idea, Cap was, from the World War II era. But I'm like, what's this? These 2 torches, and neither are Johnny Storm. And who's this guy? And Submariner, I recognized him from Supervillain Team Up #1, which I think came out the same month. No. Yeah, something like that. And I did get the second Supervillain Team Up, giant size. So this was fun. I know so many people my age that love this stuff, so I just don't know why it failed. I know the mid-'70s, Marvel DC were swamping they were cluttering the newsstands with product, and good stuff, questionable stuff as far as quality. And I'll show you a couple of things real quick. Fantastic Four, this is Giant Size #3. These were quarterly publications, so you get like 4 issues a year. And Rich Buckler is pretty prolific. He did both the regular series and the giant size a lot of the time. And there's #4. This time, though, John Buscema and Chick Stone, I hate to say fill in, but they do a great job. And you see that all-out Buckler look, and its first appearance of Madrox, Multiple Man. So it's probably worth a fortune, but I bought a cheap version because I actually am collecting. My cousin had suggested, actually he started collecting all giant-sized books because there really is a finite number of them, like Master of Kung Fu and Man-Thing and all that. So this is the only one I kind of cheaped out on because I didn't want to spend a fortune. The X-Men, the giant size X-Men, which is like thousands of dollars, I ended up getting like a reprint edition of it because it's ridiculous. I'm not gonna sell the house just to get that. But here we go. It's like by issue 5, it was reprinting Fantastic Four Annual and Fantastic Four 15. Now, I got this from an old friend, Philip Decker, I think. His father was a pastor, and what really sucked is he was my very first friend. And with pastors, they stay for a couple years, and then they move away to serve elsewhere. And he was my first friend that I remember, and he moved away, and I was really bummed. But we would talk about this issue. It was just funny how things like that are. Now, I didn't have this, but it reprints the issue in the Negative Zone where Franklin is born. So, here we are. Giant Size Fantastic Four #5, which never existed. They pulled the reins on it. What saw print as FF158-159 was originally scheduled for Giant Size Fantastic Four 5. This production photostat shows the story's cover with its original giant size trade dress. They decided to go all reprint because I think also they had so many books out, and they only had so many creators. They were like thinning the soup. But it was kind of a drag. But I found something interesting about those things. Thanks to Roy Thomas, who, God bless him, he keeps us informed on stuff. What I like is, if I had the ability, I would just have him write every day everything he's ever remembered about his time at Marvel, because I'm sure he remembers everything, every iota. So at the end of Giant Size, Roy he helps somebody like me understand the importance of everything going on, because oddly enough, though, I was pretty aware of World War II because it was only 30 years ago at the time of this publishing. I mean, I know it's 70 years ago now, but it was just kind of a trip. I mean, Roy was a teacher for a while before he worked in comics, so he would take his love of his early fanboy days and mix it with his professorial way of explaining comics history, and add these little pages, usually through like first issues of all his books. So there's no Giant Size Invaders number 2. Beautiful cover. And inside is Ring of the Nebulas. I never know how to say that. Nebulas, I guess, yeah. Well, an all-star extravaganza. 20 pages of fun for the marvelous folks who brought you Nostalgia Illustrated. Actually, I don't think it was 20 pages because Marvel had gone down to like 17 or 18. But there's something that's interesting. It continues in the second issue. Another gorgeous Ramita cover. I don't know if that's Kane or Ramita, because they're so heavily. Ooh, I'm going to clip out that Watcher value stamp. So here we go. This is the skinny on the fate of the Giant Size books. Random ramblings from Roy Thomas. Face it, friends, who else but Marvel gives you 2 first issues of virtually the same mag in the space of 2 short months? Nobody in the right mind, that's for sure. As many of Marveldom had been aware, the House of Ideas has a new one, namely canceling most of its 50-cent titles in favor of a handful of half-a-buck specials, 1 or 2 each month. The reason of this are many and varied, and I'll leave it to weirder and wiser heads to explain to you elsewhere. That's one of the things about not being editor-in-chief any longer. I don't have to do things like that if I don't want to, and I don't. It's all yours, lively Len Wein. What I want to talk about is Invaders 1, how it came to be, and what's in store for you in the months to come. First off, you have an doubtlessly guessed, there's a story issue, Rings of the Nebula. Was originally meant for Giant Size Invaders 2. In fact, was already finished in pencil form, a full 35 pages at that. Then the word came down to adjust all stories to 25-cent mags for me instead. Luckily for me, there was a natural break on the story page which forms the last page of this issue. So next time around, Frank Robbins and I will simply add a few new pages up front in Invaders 2 on sale in the middle of July, which complete detail and clue you in on why the heck we call it the Ring of the Nebulas in the first place. So there we go. And that explains perfectly what's going on. There's Donar and Laga, and who else? Fro. I travel to and fro, I do. You know what? I have to say, Coletta did a pretty nice job on this, even though Springer was a more ideal inker. They gave Coletta the job over Frank Robbins to make it look more like a standard Marvel comic, and I understand that. So, like here, there's one page that wouldn't exist if not for the other. I believe that's the new page. And it's pretty weird. Frank Robbins did take some getting used to, but I was such a fan of these World War II heroes fighting you-know-whats. And so I fell in love with this book. And I was really disappointed in the last year when Roy, who came up with this whole idea, decided to leave and have Don Glut take over as the writer. And I'm like, aside from Conan, this was Roy's baby, and I was really disappointed because, Glut tried, and then Alan Kupperberg, when he came on, he was kind of wet behind the ears, and I found myself missing Frank Robbins. Isn't that crazy? Yeah. That's a, look at that. So you want okay, well, that's it. So now we have our I can just, if I can explain, that's our explanation. And from there on, let's go back to Fantastic Four. I showed you those giant size that had come out. And here was the October was as late as the giant size titles went, I think. That's when there were all reprints of giant size Hulk, giant size Iron Man, giant size, so many things, Captain America, Daredevil. But for me as a kid, they were a treat because it was all new to me and it was classic Silver Age stuff. That is the original cover from King Size Special number 5, and this is an all new cover for this reprint of King Size 6, which introduced Franklin in the world, and the guy's got to go get that Annihilus's cosmic rod to help save Susie, who was bedridden, of course. So there we go. I mean, that would have been really, really cool. And get this, it says May. This would have been in place of that cover I just showed before with Psycho Man and with the red cover. And it ended up being 2 separate issues. And being the hardcore geek fan that I am, even I could tell some things. I was just so locked into Marvel. So I love this cover. And at this point, Buckler, he knew the Kirby formula, but he didn't have to swipe anymore. He kind of broke it down. He distilled it, and there's a lot of stuff that doesn't. I'm good at picking out Kirby swipes. In fact, I might do an episode of that one time. There's even a panel Frank Miller copied a Kirby panel, and it sticks out like a sore thumb. So, I mean, it's kind of funny how he marries the Kirby style with the regular style, and it comes off really stiff, but it's fun. And Joe Sinnott just makes it enjoyable. What do you mean? Like hundreds of novelty songs in the 70s. There's a lot of melodrop, crybaby stuff. Like that there. His legs are so tensed that he doesn't look like it looks like he pulled a leg muscle or something, or shin splint or something. But I don't care. It's fun. It's fun to look at. So Johnny Storm had that costume temporarily, and that's for another day. And there we go, the Thunderhorn. Roy Thomas, when he was editor-in-chief, and even beyond that, he would take odd, like one-off stories from the Silver Age and bring the character into the current year. At this time, the Human Torch reprints came out. It was only 7 issues, I think, 7 or 8. And they had this one time, they had this guy named Zemnu from Dimension Z or something. So they brought him back. Nobody was asking for it, but hey, Roy was just very clever. So this basically is a knockoff of Black Bolt's destructive voice, but imagine if he spoke through there. Ooh-wee. I don't know if the earth would stand. So, we're going for broke. Here is the actual cover. God, that's beautiful. Oh my gosh, that's so beautiful. If you're on a stand, and even if there's a DC and Marvel and all that, how can you not buy that? How can you not? Seductive. So, this is an extra page they put in there because you can see they're taking off. It goes right to there. So it's just like an insert here. Really pretty stuff. really like those eyelids. Eyelids are tricky to ink right, on male or female. Here we go. Thunderhorn gets destroyed, goes back to his fifth dimension, sees Quicksilver, a torch, and all that stuff. So puts a flame lasso around him, and then all of a sudden the art changes drastically. So this is an insert page. Those first two panels there go right to here to take off, but we have this romantic interlude that kind of ties everything together and just wraps stuff up, and it's pretty interesting. So there's that. There's the Fantastic Four, and then I'm going to get to the X-Men, giant size X-Men. Hold on a sec. These omnibus. I remember I used to get a lot of these online really cheap, and I thought I was really enjoying them, but after a while they're heavy as hell to lug around, and they're not like you can't read them in bed without crushing your chest cavity. So giant size X-Men. Many years after this came out, I did get it, but it was coverless. I got it at Eyes Entertainment in downtown Pittsburgh, which was been established since 1972, one of the very first comic book shops ever. And I remember it was just this little tiny, like one room office in Etna, Pennsylvania. So, I mean, this is just like, wow. And you know what's so weird? I don't know if it's distribution or what, because I was still trying to hit the stands, but I wasn't. Like I said, I was still a little too young to go too far on my own with the bike, because there was just so many roads to go around. So I missed out on X-Men for a while, and I'll show you my very first issue of X-Men. It just totally blew me out of the water, and I didn't even know about it because when I was reading X-Men, it was a reprint book. So give me a second. I don't want to tease you on this. So I remember the reprint book where they were getting into like the Red Raven, they got into the X-Men versus the Avengers and stuff like that. But this was my very first image of the new X-Men that I saw, and I almost passed out. It was so incredible. It's like they're back. I recognize Cyclops, and I don't know these guys, but I'm just like, wow, that is spectacular. Dave Cockrum really knew how to, I don't know how to explain it. It's just masterful. It's masterful. And and also, it starts off with a peaceful scene, winter time at, what do you call that, 30 Rock. So much going on there. Sam Granger is the inker. He'll be the inker mostly, but this is so Neil Adams. And it was so funny because I read the Neil Adams X-Men era, and I saw that Cockrum borrowed heavily from it as far as the energy and just the style. So really good stuff. So I just couldn't believe it. It was crazy. And because my last issue, I think, was issue 93, I think, with the reprint. So there were yeah, something like that, because there was only another issue or two to go. Let's go back to Giant Size number 1. Okay. They wrap up. The new X-Men rescue the old X-Men with the help of Cyclops, the only one who made it through from the original group. And we go right to X-Men 94. Look how audacious and contorted Gil Kane did these figures. But I mean, it works. It's so much drama. So we go into shortly thereafter. Dave Cockrum is the penciler. Bob McLeod is the inker. For the longest time, it was like artist, inker, and then towards the late 80s, they started saying penciler, inker, because Bob McLeod, he pencils as well. So why shortchange him? So they start following next issue, War Hunt. Here we go. Now this was supposed to be Giant Size X-Men #2. It's a two-parter. I guess that's a new page, but man, that's so great. Look at that. Woo-wee. So yeah, and also here he's falling. Only in comics do people fall, and they have a whole, flashback. But it's fun. I used to love that. In fact, I used to draw my own comics, and I would do that too. While someone was falling off a cliff, and possibly would never be able to think all that stuff. So we go into here, where there's a rescue attempt, and so that's it here. Mutant mailbag. I'm glad they just shot photo stats directly from the yellowed paper. So there we go. That would have been Giant Size X-Men 2, except it's so heavy. Hey. Hang in there, everybody. So Cochran's designs. I don't want to get too off the point. I mean, these guys are back, baby. And they created the template for doing a major how to reimagine an old super team. Get some new characters in there mixed with the others. Maybe they're. Oh, okay, that's the layout by. Okay, well, anyway, where's the Giant Size X-Men 2? Hang on, everybody. Because there's a cover by Gil Kane. That was Giant Size X-Men 2. Yeah, just enjoy the art. Basically, it's a Neil Adams. It's a Gil Kane piece where the original X-Men are fighting the Sentinels. And I know I'm being maybe short-sighted, but the original X-Men, I don't know how they stood up against the Elementals. I mean, you had Angel, who could fly. You had the Beast, who had big feet, and he was fairly strong, but he's not like the Thing. And then I can't believe they left that out of here. Well, anyway, X-Men 2 is a reprint of 2 issues of the Neil Adams, Roy Thomas era of the Sentinels. So this got me thinking something else. I'm 100% certain that this would have been a giant-sized Avengers book, because issue 141 was the beginning of a new era with Steve Englehart, where he was going to deal with the Squadron Supreme. He introduced the Beast a little bit before that, and all of a sudden, wham, right in the middle of this story with the Squadron Supreme's world, and the Hellcat comes along. Patsy Walker becomes a Hellcat. Bam, for 2 months we get a fill-in issue, but it's a 2-parter. So, and this would doubtlessly be the cover of the Giant Size X-Men, probably 6 or 7, because I think they got that far. So beautiful. Oh man. So you got Don Heck and Tony Isabella wrote it. Inks by John Tartaglia, and oftentimes he went by Tartag. We meant to bring you more of the Squadron Supreme saga, but this time around the dreaded doom struck again. Catch its capricious continue in Avengers 147, but for now, just sit tight and enjoy the next 2 issues. You'll love them. I like the reassurance, that's always cool. And it was odd, and it did kind of piss me off at the time, but the art and the story I really enjoyed. So this guy's studying the Avengers through various books that had passed recently, and at the end there was all these flashbacks, notes. So the assassin is assigned to kill the Avengers. He asks for how much? $2 billion, and because a year should be sufficient. A year. Your clients will not wait that long. They are not my clients unless they accept my terms. The Avengers are a difficult assignment. A year. Agreed. Assassin never fails. In Chapter 1. Target Captain America. That's a great pose. Wow. I wonder if it's showing up alright, if it's too bright. Good old newsprint, though. So, Cap kicks some ass with some thugs dressed as Captain America. At least they would if you saw it. Hang on. There we go. So he kicks some ass. One guy gets away, but uses the shield, knocks him down. I love that pose where he's pointing at him. It's like basically, tell me what you want. They did draw your attention, did they not? Huh? And, oh, come on, man. And he gets shot by the assassin. And some little old lady calls. I hope the old fool enjoys counting the money. The poison we could, the bills with, will kill her in a matter of days. That's this old woman. She's been told to call about Captain America, but wait. So, as the similar substance I've coated inside your mask with you, my fascist friend, assassin never fails. And chapter 2. Chapter 3. Thor and Iron Man. I know the nose, but hey, that was the first Iron Man I saw, so I didn't think about it. The Mighty Marvel checklist is coming back, which is pretty cool. And what's so funny is here it says Avengers 145. The Earth's mightiest heroes enter the sphere of the Squadron Supreme to fight a war against the world by Steve Englehart, George Perez, Vinnie Coletta, spotlight Wandra, and the Vision in a story dealing with the sinister serpent crown of Lemuria. But that's not what it is. It's 147. So it was a last minute change. It just, they were always hopping from book to book to get those books out in time, or they pay a huge penalty in printing. He's like, time for another opinion, perhaps that of Dr. Don Blake. Thor and Iron Man know their identities at the time. Well, that's one thing I like too, is like not everybody knew each other's identities, but in some issue, it was like off panel. It turns out that these two guys knew each other's secret identities. I liked the idea it was just like the two of them, rather than the whole team. It was just a little, I don't know, a little bonding experience. Here comes Hawkeye. Here comes a Cap. He hears about on the news. And come on, focus, fool. There we go. I always thought Winghead is indestructible. I love that costume, and that's Don Heck's design, so that's why it looks so amazing. Whoops, you're the bad guys, right? Yep, definitely the bad guys. Nice posture there. He's shooting while he's dodging. And they do the old gas trick. Right. So and here's Beast showing up. Don't worry, Cap's gonna be okay, but they're not sure. Just catch up with Vision. Don't worry, old Methuselah in there is more lives than a saber-tooth. Perhaps you're correct, Hawkeye. He does seem to be resting comfortably. Sure, Vage, my cheerful act didn't pop you for a second, did it? We talk about mind tricks. A time like this, and all I can think of is how I used to argue with Cap all the time. But then Cap took him under his wing. They got to be pals, and now I pity the Avengers. For the night, death walks among them. They know it's not. Letters were returned next month as usual because they needed an additional page to cobble these. I wouldn't say cobble. Just split this story into 2 issues, and that's how you get the first couple pages penciled by Keith Pollard, who's just friggin' amazing, and he came right out. He started as a assistant to Rich Buckler, who created a lot of. He tutored a lot of soon-to-be superstars. He was just really, like George Perez, like Garville Jones, and Pollard and others. So And I remember as a kid, this one time I was kind of flummoxed, like, why is the art different here? And wow, is that beautiful? That's great, and that's great, and that's great too. So then we go right into Heck art, which is kind of unfair. You know, it's like you have somebody brand new top of his game, and you're getting Heck, who is a solid artist, but it's better not to make comparisons because some people will be like, oh, it's too old school. But you know what? I didn't really mind. The story is so well done. Heck's storytelling, it really, really works well. He's got the Iron Man nose. I have the Mego doll. Yes, it was a doll back in 1975 that had the nose on Iron Man. I will never shave it off. Now, for the panel, my cousin loves so much and has remembered forever and will forever bring it up. Brother, is this coffee ever El Stinko? This must be how they recruit new patients. So, you see. Can't fail now. Can't. That gas. And he sprayed it before I could activate my eye and mouth shields. See, this is one of those. It's really dumb, but because you have to move the story along. That's just it. Gas is always like an easy way to, move along in the story. So he's on. I do like the flash effect around his body. I mean, it's not like he's glowing. It's just that it's like a artistic choice to highlight Iron Man. And there's Thor. I couldn't believe they took him down. Dr. Don Blake's there. Let me see. I'm trying to think of who took his place. Somebody took his place. They were sneaky. And there's Vision kicking some ass. And he slaps this, the assassin slaps some kind of thing that doesn't allow him to become intangible or super heavy. He knocks down. And then, so I kill 2 Avengers. Turns out they're not out. This little Avenger dropped his cookies before your poison got anywhere near his ever-loving aortas, so he vomited. So, Dr. Blake. Well, Cap's gonna be fine. And he blasts off the costume. And they're shocked that it's a woman. Kind of like in, what is it, the recent movie where Taskmaster turned out to be a woman, even though it wasn't that way in the original continuity. But she tosses a grenade, escapes. She calls out to her guards, the Avengers are right behind me. And they're like, who is she? We can't afford to take chances. Great idea. Her own men, not knowing who she is. I love that 2 arms. They got a 2-arm in those guys. So, it's a very interesting ending, but it's too much to get into. I can't remember why the Thor, I think the Thor, that's what it was. The Thor was a life model decoy that they used. Life model decoys were great. They were everywhere. They were everybody's answer to, just like sleeping gas. So there you go. You got like Avengers, giant-size Avengers, probably, I don't know, 5 or 6. And you had X-Men 2, giant-size X-Men 2. Now, as a special bonus, boom, bonus, I'm going to show you a book that was supposed to come out, a normal-sized book, but it got killed before it even got published. And not for any reason of, scandal or something like that, but, okay. The Red Skull took the Invaders, except for Bucky, thought him beneath him. Nice little Jim Steranko swipe there. So they built this Liberty Legion, all these great characters that Roy Thomas knew, and they actually weren't great characters. They were like third stringers who almost had no appearances, but Roy loved them so much that he said, hey, we'll make them legitimate characters. And I like the Liberty Legion. I'd hoped they'd keep going. And cleverly, he would do the origins through a file that Bucky was reading. This is somebody had pointed this out on their own channel. I can't remember what it is. This is the funniest origin story. It's like recently, in the African bush, noted scientist Dr. Emil Frank saw his son Robert bitten by a deadly cobra. Suddenly, as if out of nowhere, a mongoose appeared, swiftest, most dangerous foe to a venomous reptile. In the ensuing battle, the mongoose killed the serpent, though not without itself being wounded to death. In desperation, on the verge of collapse, Dr. Frank injected the mongoose's blood into his dying son's veins. The strain was too much for the old man, who died even as his son recovered. To learn that he had gained the mongoose's incredible speed and vitality, Bob Frank swore then and there to carry on his father's noble way, using alter ego, a rather awkward name, Wizard. It's like, don't blame us. It happened in USA Comics 1. But it's so funny. It's like your son's dying, okay? You see this go on, and you're like, mongoose blood, okay, mongoose blood. It's like, instead of maybe trying to get the poison out or something like that, who knows, maybe he was in perfectly good shape. And he's like, Dad, I'm okay. I'm like, no, we gotta do this mongoose blood thing. Come on. I was like, come on, experiment. I mean, son, let's do this. So, but it's fun. It was the golden age, Blue Diamond. So, this is a great 4-issue crossover because the first appearance of these guys was in Marvel Premiere, and it jumps back to The Invaders. Lovely Kirby cover there. And I love how Red Skull is drawn by Frank Robbins. I mean, it's so bizarre and so freakish. So, now, it ends up in Marvel Premiere 30. I defeated the Invaders. So, what great fun. I did like this. They decided to fight in Yankee Stadium. And that's it. And you get some more of the bios of the characters. Now, Don Heck did those 2 issues, but there was possibly a third Liberty Legion issue. And here it is. Invaders Classic. And I'm such a sucker for the Invaders. I have the floppies. I bought these when it came out in the mid-2000s. And of course, I had to get the omnibus when it came out. So, but it's one of the few things I've ever double, triple dipped on. So this is towards the end of the book. It's issue 35 and only lasted issue 41. Roy Thomas, Don Heck. Then you got Alan Kupperberg and Rick Hoberg. And Roy is writing and editing, so he's patching this together. Bill Black is, Rick Hoberg, who is most known at this time for issues of What If that were just incredible, including some of my favorite ones. So there is the Alan Kupperberg hand over head. That's like one of his patented poses. So we go into Don Heckland. And here we go. We have the origins all over again. So this is like, was this a test for a first issue? Or is it just Marvel Premiere number 31 and they just wanted to, let it stand on its own, let the story. But it's gotta be. It's gotta be. Yeah. Like I said, this isn't a giant size. It's just like a very likely issue of the Invaders that would either be an issue 1 or it would be issue 31 of Marvel Premiere. And I love this. Boing. So more and more. However, there's some that is not like a Don Heck pose, I don't think. Or at least the way it's inked is very different, and that's inked very different. And I think maybe that's Hoberg working over the pencils of Don Heck. In fact, I'm pretty sure of it. So, yeah, that's definitely Hoberg finishing on. So there you go, the whole Liberty Legion. Yeah, bad printing, but you know. And then it goes back to. It's all Alan Kupperberg from here on in. But yeah, this was definitely intended for a third Liberty Legion outing. The book was bi-monthly at this point, both Invaders and Marvel Premiere. Marvel Premiere was bi-monthly its entire run, like 1 through 56 or 60. So by the time they got maybe the sales figures from Liberty Legion 29 and then 30, maybe they weren't strong enough to make them confident to do a third story with the Liberty Legion. And my Marvel Premiere at that point was starting to become more of a 1 or 2 issue introduction to characters like Wood God, one of the stupidest characters ever, and you know, a lot of others. But that's it. That is the mystery of giant size comical books. And I hope you enjoyed this, and hope you learned a little something. If you got any comments below that can expand on my commentary, I'd be more than happy to read it. I never delete any words or comments. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. And I hate having to say this, but please check if you're still subscribed, because YouTube's doing this algorithm BS that is making subscribers drop off. And we're talking like a lot of big, much bigger YouTube channels than mine. And I just don't know what it is. It's just some insidious algorithm. But yeah, please make sure you're still subscribed and you hit the bell for notifications. Let me know what you think. Tell me about your... Please expand on your enjoyment of the giant-sized comics from the mid-70s. They're so wondrous. They're so cool. And I know there is a omnibus of them that came out oversized, but I already bought all the giant size. My cousin was just buying giant size titles and keeping them together, like giant size Werewolf, giant size X-Men, etc., Master Kung Fu. And I started doing it too, but then that omnibus came out, and I'm like, but I like the pulp paper and the smell of the giant size issues, because that's what, the giant size issue is just very, 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 I don't know, create a lot of nostalgia. And as those who've enjoyed it as well. Oh, many years later, I'll tell you this, mid-2000s, they did do a giant size Invaders number 2. What it was it had, it was kind of a rip-off. It had a new cover. It had like a 7 or 9 page story done by, I think, Lee Weeks. I'm not sure. Beautiful art, but it was 7 or 8 pages. And then the back of the book was those 2 issues of Ring of the Nebula. So I bought it, but I don't really count it. So enjoy, and that's about it. Oh, hold on, let me see. I gotta see something. Wait, hold on. Here we go. My giant size X-Men number 2. I first got this coverless, beautiful Gil Kane. Ooh-wee. But yeah, they had gone to reprint. I didn't buy best condition because I just don't want to spend a fortune. I mean, some of the ones, I'll tell you one other thing too. I got a coverless copy, probably at Ides, and I reread this so many times because it's just so perfect. It's just astonishing, all the stuff that goes on. I don't have to tell you how great Neil Adams is. But that's all. And that is the Giant Size Comics. And hey, have a good day. And be kind to each other and be kind to yourselves. And enjoy comics and share what you know you like. And have a good day. Bye.